Tonight, we are going to explore the strange little moments when reality seems to skip. A clock stops at the exact second you look at it. A stranger passes by, and for a moment, you feel sure you have seen them before. A room feels familiar before you remember why. A day repeats a shape from another day, so closely that it feels almost impossible. These moments are often called glitches in reality. Not because we can prove that the world has broken, but because that is how they feel. For a second or two, ordinary life seems to lose its smooth surface. Something repeats, something vanishes, something arrives too early, and the mind becomes very quiet because it does not know where to place what just happened. A glitch does not have to be dramatic. It can be as small as walking into a room and forgetting why you came there. It can be hearing your phone vibrate, only to find that no message arrived. It can be thinking of someone for the first time in months, and then seeing their name later that same day. Small events, but they leave a strange trace. What makes these moments powerful is not only what happens outside us, it is what happens inside us. The mind is always trying to make the world feel continuous. It stitches sounds, memories, sights, and expectations into one smooth experience. Most of the time, we never notice the stitching. But sometimes, for a moment, the seam becomes visible. Imagine walking down a quiet street at night. The streetlights are soft. The road is almost empty. A car passes you slowly, turns the corner, and disappears. Then, a minute later, the same color car passes again. The same shape, the same sound. Maybe it is only another car. Maybe it is the same one circling the block. But for a second, it feels like time has folded. The feeling is hard to describe because it lives in the space between certainty and doubt. You know there are ordinary explanations. You know the world is large and full of repeated patterns. And still, the body reacts before logic arrives. There is a pause, a small chill, a sense that something has stepped slightly out of line. Human beings are very sensitive to patterns. This is one reason we survive so well. We notice footsteps behind us. We notice a change in someone's voice. We notice when the room is too quiet, or when a familiar object is not where it should be. The same ability that helps us understand the world can also make the world feel strange. So we can let the mystery stay for a little while without turning it into fear. This is still a calm journey. We will move slowly through strange experiences, soft explanations, and the quiet science of perception. You do not need to solve anything tonight. You can simply listen and notice how mysterious ordinary life can feel when we look at it gently. Glitch is often a broken expectation. The mind expected one thing, and reality gave it something else. The change may be tiny, but the mind treats it seriously. It asks, "Did I miss something? Did I remember this wrong? Did this happen before?" And in that question, the ordinary moment becomes a small mystery. One of the most common glitch-like experiences is deja vu. The phrase means already seen. It is the feeling that this exact moment has happened before. You may be sitting in a room, hearing a sentence, seeing the light fall across a table, and suddenly the whole scene feels familiar. Not similar. Familiar, as if you are remembering the present. Deja vu can be unsettling because it reverses the normal order of experience. Usually, something happens first and memory comes later. But in deja vu, memory seems to arrive before the event is finished. The moment has the texture of the past while it is still happening. The mind says, "I have been here before," even when you know you probably have not. There are many gentle explanations for this. One simple idea is that the brain sometimes processes the same moment in a slightly unusual order. A scene may feel familiar before the mind has fully identified it. A pattern in the room, a tone of voice, or the angle of light may resemble something from the past. Even if you cannot find the original memory, the feeling does not need a perfect match. The brain can be moved by partial echoes. A hallway may remind you of a school corridor from childhood. A conversation may carry the rhythm of another conversation you once had. A smell may open a door to a memory you cannot name. The present becomes wrapped in the feeling of before. This is part of what makes deja vu feel so strange. It is not usually a clear memory. It is a memory mood. You do not remember exactly when this happened. You do not remember who was there. You only feel the certainty of familiarity. And because the feeling is strong, the mind looks around for a story that can explain it. Sometimes, people describe deja vu as if they had dreamed the moment before. They may say, "I saw this in a dream," or "I knew you were going to say that." And sometimes, there may have been a dream with similar pieces. But dreams are often loose and unfinished. After an event happens, the mind may connect it backward to a dream that only partly resembled it. His does not make the experience fake. It simply means the mind is doing what it always does. It is trying to organize time. It takes memory, sensation, and meaning, and tries to place them in a clear order. When that order becomes blurry, the result can feel like a message from somewhere outside ordinary time. A strange thing about the mind is that it does not record life like a camera. It builds memories. It rebuilds them each time we remember. A memory can feel solid, but it is active. It can soften, sharpen, change color, or gather details from other places. This is one reason a small mismatch between memory and reality can feel like a glitch. You may have had the experience of remembering an object in one place only to find it somewhere else. A key on the table, a book near the bed, a cup by the sink. You feel sure you know where it was. Then the world disagrees. Most of the time, the answer is ordinary. You moved it without attention. Someone else moved it. Or the memory was never as clear as it felt. But in the moment, before the explanation appears, there is a little gap. The mind looks at the empty space where the object should be. It reaches for the memory. The memory reaches back. And for a second, the room feels slightly rearranged by an invisible hand. This is one of the quietest forms of a glitch. Attention is a strange lantern. It lights only a small part of the world at once. Everything outside that light may still be happening, but it is not entering memory with the same strength. We can walk across a room, move an object, close a door, or check a message, and later have almost no memory of doing it. This is not because the mind is broken. It is because the mind is efficient. If it recorded every movement with equal weight, the day would become too heavy to carry. So it saves what seems important and lets many small actions fade. The price of this efficiency is that life sometimes contains blank spaces. These blank spaces can feel like missing time. You are driving a familiar route, and suddenly you are near your destination with little memory of the last few minutes. You are washing dishes, and then the sink is empty. You are scrolling, thinking only a minute has passed, and then you notice the clock has moved far more than expected. Missing time sounds dramatic, but most of it is quiet. It comes from habit. When the brain knows a task very well, it can perform parts of it with little conscious attention. The body continues. The hands continue. The eyes continue. But the observing self has drifted somewhere else. When it returns, the world seems to have jumped ahead. This is why familiar places can feel slightly unreal. A road you know too well may blur. A routine you repeat every day may vanish from memory almost as soon as it happens. The mind does not need to inspect every step. It has walked this path before, so it lets awareness loosen, like a hand opening around a thread. There is a gentleness in this, if we let it be gentle. The mind is not trying to frighten us. It is trying to save effort. It is saying, I know this place. I know this motion. You can think about something else for a while. And sometimes, when we come back, the return feels like waking inside a moment already in progress. Another kind of glitch happens when time changes shape. A minute can feel long when we are waiting. An hour can disappear when we are absorbed. A single night can feel endless. A whole year can feel like it slipped away. Time is measured by clocks, but it is felt by the mind. And the mind does not always keep steady time. When something new happens, the mind records more detail. More detail can make a moment feel longer in memory. When things repeat, fewer details stand out. The experience may pass quickly, and later it may feel even shorter. This is one reason childhood summers can feel huge in memory, while adult weeks sometimes blur together. A glitch in time can be as simple as looking at the clock and feeling that it should be much later or much earlier. You may wake during the night, certain that hours have passed, and find that only 20 minutes are gone. Or you may close your eyes for what feels like a few breaths and discover morning light at the window. Near sleep, time becomes even softer. Thoughts lose their edges. Images come and go. A sentence may begin in your mind and turn into a dream before it finishes. The body is still in bed, but awareness is moving between places. In that state, a few minutes can feel wide, deep, and strangely full. This is one reason nighttime can make glitches feel more meaningful. At night, the world is quieter. There are fewer distractions. The mind hears its own movement more clearly. Small coincidences feel louder. Familiar rooms feel unfamiliar. Shadows stretch objects into new shapes, and the boundary between thought and world becomes thinner. Many people have felt a sudden strangeness in a room they know well. The furniture is the same. The walls are the same. The light is ordinary. And yet, for a few seconds, everything feels unfamiliar. It is as if the mind has stepped half a pace away from the scene and is seeing it without the usual labels. This can happen when attention becomes detached from habit. Usually, you do not see your room as shapes and colors. You see bed, chair, door, lamp. The names arrive so quickly that they cover the raw scene. But sometimes the names loosen. A chair becomes a strange object. A doorway becomes a dark rectangle. The familiar becomes new, and the new feels unreal. This does not mean anything bad is happening. It may simply show how much of reality is interpretation. The eyes receive light. The ears receive vibration. The skin receives pressure. The brain turns these signals into a world. Most of the time, the world feels immediate. But sometimes, we notice that our experience is being assembled. The world outside us is real, but the world we experience is also shaped inside us. Color, depth, meaning, distance, and familiarity are not just sitting there untouched. They are processed, they are organized, they are made useful. We do not usually feel that work being done because it happens quietly and fast. A glitch-like feeling can appear when that hidden work becomes noticeable. The mind predicts what should be there, then compares the prediction with what arrives. If they do not match, even slightly, we feel a small alert. That alert may become curiosity. It may become unease. Or, in a calm setting, it may become wonder. Think about a word you know very well. If you repeat it enough times, it can begin to sound strange. The meaning loosens. The sound becomes only sound. A simple word, once familiar, becomes almost alien. Nothing supernatural has happened. The mind has simply grown tired of holding the usual meaning in place. This can happen with faces too. If you stare at your own reflection in dim light for long enough, the face may seem to shift. Features may feel unfamiliar. The person in the mirror may look like you and not like you at the same time. The brain is very good at faces, but in low light and stillness, even face recognition can become soft around the edges. These experiences remind us that perception is active. The mind is not just receiving reality. It is participating in it. It fills gaps. It smooths motion. It corrects color. It assumes stability. It expects the world to continue. Most of the time, these assumptions help us. Sometimes, they create a strange moment when the assumption shows itself. Coincidences can feel like reality glitches because they seem to connect things that should be separate. You think of a song, and then it plays somewhere outside. You mention a place, and later that day, you see an article about it. You dream of someone, and then they send a message. The mind pauses and asks, why now? The answer may be probability. In a life filled with thousands of thoughts, names, songs, faces, and places, some coincidences are bound to happen. Most pass unnoticed. A few arrive with perfect timing. The timing gives them emotional weight. They feel arranged, even if they are only the natural meeting of many ordinary chances. But a coincidence does not have to be magical to be meaningful. A coincidence can still feel beautiful. It can still remind us that life is full of hidden crossings. Our minds move through the day, collecting echoes. The world moves in its own large pattern. Sometimes those patterns overlap, and for a moment Everything feels connected. Pattern detection is one of the mind's oldest tools. It helped human beings notice seasons, tracks, clouds, danger, food, and the behavior of other people. We are built to ask, what does this mean? The question is useful. It helps us learn, but it also means that the mind sometimes finds meaning in random noise. You can see faces in clouds, shapes in shadows, messages in repeated numbers, and stories in unrelated events. This does not make the mind foolish. It makes the mind human. A mind that sees no patterns would struggle to live. A mind that sees too many can become uneasy. The calm place is somewhere in between. Repeated numbers are a gentle example. You look at a clock and see 11:11. Later, a receipt shows the same pattern. A number appears on a license plate. Then, because the number now matters to you, you notice it more. It may feel as if the number is following you, but often, attention is the thing that has changed. This is sometimes called frequency noticing. Once something becomes important, the mind begins to find it everywhere. A word you just learned appears in books, videos, and conversations. A type of car you are thinking of buying seems to fill the roads. The world did not suddenly change. Your filter did. There is something comforting about this, because it means the mind is always shaping the emotional landscape of the day. What we notice grows brighter. What we ignore fades backward. A glitch may not be a tear in reality. It may be a spotlight moving across reality, landing on something that was always there. Still, some experiences remain strange, even after we understand the mind's role. One of these is the feeling of a false memory. You may remember a line from a childhood book, a logo from a store, the layout of a place, or the ending of a story, and then discover that the record does not match your memory. False memories are not lies. They are memories with altered details. The mind often remembers the meaning of something better than the exact form. It keeps the emotional shape and fills in missing pieces later. Sometimes, the filled-in pieces feel so natural that we cannot imagine they were ever different. Shared false memories can feel especially strange. When many people remember the same wrong detail, it can seem as if the world itself has changed. But people often share culture, language, expectations, and similar patterns of attention. If many minds make the same kind of shortcut, they may arrive at the same mistaken memory. The past feels fixed, but our access to the past is alive. Every time we remember, we rebuild. The rebuilding usually works well enough. It lets us carry our life story forward. But it also means memory is not a sealed room. It is more like a quiet house, where the furniture can be moved slightly over time. There is a certain softness in accepting this. We do not have to distrust every memory. We can simply understand that memory is human. It is shaped by feeling, repetition, stories, and the present moment. It keeps what matters, but sometimes changes the frame. And sometimes, when the frame is revealed, it feels like reality changed while we were not looking. Another glitch-like feeling comes from prediction. The brain is always guessing what will happen next. It guesses the end of a sentence. It guesses where a moving object will be. It guesses what a person might say. These guesses happen so quickly that we usually experience them as reality itself. When a prediction comes true, we barely notice. When it fails, We notice sharply. This is why a sudden silence in a familiar sound can feel strange. If a fan turns off, the quiet can feel almost loud. If music stops unexpectedly, the absence becomes an event. The mind predicted continuation, and reality interrupted it. Sometimes the mind predicts too strongly. You expect a message, and for a moment you think you heard the phone. You expect someone to call your name, and a random sound becomes your name. You expect a step on the stairs, and the house gives you a creak. The mind leans forward, and ordinary noise meets it halfway. This is especially common when we are tired. Tiredness lowers the sharpness of attention. It blurs the line between expectation and sensation. A sound may be half heard and half imagined. A shadow may be half seen and half interpreted. At night, the brain is preparing to dream, and dreams are built from the same materials as perception. The edge of sleep is full of small glitches. You may hear a voice say your name just as you are drifting off. You may see a sudden image behind closed eyes. You may feel as if you are falling and then jerk awake. You may begin a dream while still aware of the room around you. These are common human experiences. The falling sensation is one of the most familiar. The body relaxes. The mind drifts. Then suddenly there is a drop, a jolt, and you are awake again. It can feel like missing a step in the dark. But often, it is simply the nervous system moving from wakefulness toward sleep, with the body and mind not quite settling at the same speed. Hearing a voice near sleep can also feel like a glitch. It may be a word, a short phrase, or a familiar tone. It can arrive so clearly that you open your eyes, but the room is quiet. No one is there. The mind has produced a sound from within, and for a moment it was experienced as if it came from outside. This does not have to be frightening. The dreaming mind is a powerful creator. Every night it builds voices, places, weather, faces, movement, and entire worlds. Near sleep, pieces of that creative process can begin before waking awareness has fully stepped away. A dream fragment appears early, like a light turning on behind a closed door. Sleep also changes the way memory behaves. As the mind becomes drowsy, thoughts can connect in unusual ways. A worry becomes an image. A memory becomes a place. A word becomes a scene. Logic loosens. Associations become stronger. This is why nighttime thoughts can feel deep, strange, or symbolic, even when they are made from ordinary pieces. A glitch story often has this same quality. It feels symbolic. A repeated person, a stopped clock, a missing object, a familiar stranger, a dream that seems to come true. Even if the explanation is ordinary, the experience can feel as if it carries a message. The mind does not only ask what happened, it asks what it means. Meaning is one of the deepest habits of consciousness. We do not simply pass through events. We interpret them. We turn them into stories. A coincidence becomes a sign. A mistake becomes a lesson. A memory becomes part of identity. This is how a life becomes more than a sequence of moments. It becomes a world with shape. But sometimes, meaning arrives before understanding. That is the strange part. Something happens, and immediately it feels important, even though we do not know why. The feeling comes first. The explanation comes later, if it comes at all. A glitch in reality may be a moment where emotion moves faster than logic. This can happen with places. You may enter a quiet building, a hotel hallway, an old school, or an empty office, and feel that the place has a mood. Nothing is wrong. Nothing dramatic happens. But the air feels loaded. The mind reads light, sound, smell, space, and memory all at once, then gives you a single feeling: strange. Some places feel strange because they are transitional. Hallways, stairwells, parking lots, empty stations, waiting rooms, and late-night roads are made for passing through. They are not quite destinations. When they are empty, they can feel paused. The mind expects movement and people. Without them, the place feels like a stage after the actors have left. This may be why certain images feel glitch-like. An empty playground at night. A store aisle with no people. A hotel corridor with repeating doors. A swimming pool after closing. These places are familiar, but outside their usual time. They are not impossible. They are only displaced, and displacement can feel like a quiet error in the day. The mind depends on context. A chair in a kitchen feels ordinary. A chair alone in a field feels strange. A toy in a child's room is normal. The same toy in an empty street at midnight becomes unsettling. The object has not changed. Its meaning has changed because the setting no longer explains it. Many glitches are like this. They are not impossible events. They are ordinary things in the wrong emotional context. A repeated phrase at the perfect time. A familiar face in an unexpected city. A forgotten song playing when you were thinking about the past. The mind feels the mismatch, and the mismatch becomes a mystery. There is also the strange experience of almost remembering. A word sits just out of reach. A name is close, but hidden. You can feel its shape. You may know the first letter, the rhythm, the room where you first heard it, but the word itself does not arrive. It is as if memory has opened a door and left the room dark. This shows that memory is not one single thing. We can remember the feeling of knowing without reaching the knowledge itself. We can remember where a memory belongs without opening it. We can remember the outline and not the content. The mind contains many layers, and sometimes those layers do not rise together. When the missing word finally arrives, it can feel sudden, almost external. You may be doing something else entirely, and the name appears. The mind kept working quietly in the background. It searched without your direct attention. Then, when the match was found, it delivered the answer into awareness, like a small gift. This background work is happening all the time. The mind solves, sorts, compares, and predicts beneath the surface. We are aware of only a small part of it. A glitch feeling may sometimes be the moment when hidden processing becomes visible. Something rises from below, and because we did not see the work, it feels mysterious. Dreams make this hidden work even clearer. A dream can take a forgotten memory, a fear, a sound in the room, and a random image, then combine them into a story. The dream feels complete while it is happening. Only after waking do we see how strange the pieces were. The waking mind does something similar, but usually with more order. The border between waking and dreaming is not a wall. It is more like twilight. There are shades between. You can be awake with dream fragments still clinging to you. You can be almost asleep while still hearing the room. You can wake from a dream and carry its emotion for hours. The mind changes states gradually, not always cleanly. This is why a morning can feel unreal after a vivid dream. The room is familiar, but the dream's atmosphere remains. You may remember a place that never existed with the same feeling as a real place. You may miss someone from a dream, even though they were made by the mind. Reality returns, but not all at once. In a way, every morning is a small reality shift. The world of sleep dissolves. The world of waking gathers itself. The bed, the walls, the light, the name of the day, the tasks ahead, all return. Usually this happens quickly, but sometimes, for a few seconds, we can feel the transition. We can feel the self loading back into place. That phrase is only a metaphor, but it captures the feeling. The self is not just one thought. It is a pattern of memories, body sensations, plans, relationships, habits, and stories. Most of the time, it feels solid. But near sleep, under stress, in unfamiliar places, or in moments of deep fatigue, the pattern can feel a little less fixed. This is where many glitch experiences live. They happen when the self, the world, and memory are not perfectly aligned. You know who you are, but the moment feels unfamiliar. You know where you are, but the place feels changed. You know what happened, but the memory has a soft gap. Nothing has to be broken for the experience to feel strange. If all these moments have something in common, it may be this. A glitch is not always a strange event in the world. Sometimes it is the mind noticing its own construction. It catches itself building continuity. It catches itself smoothing time. It catches itself deciding what belongs, what repeats, and what should feel familiar. Most of the time, this construction is invisible. You do not feel the brain turning light into rooms, vibration into voices, memory into identity, or expectation into a stable world. You simply wake up inside, experience, and experience feels complete. That completeness is part of the miracle. It is also why a tiny break can feel so powerful. It may help to think of consciousness as a calm lake at night. Most of the time, the surface reflects the world smoothly. A tree is a tree. A star is a star. A sound is a sound. But if a small ripple moves across the surface, the reflection bends. The world is still there. The lake is still there. Only the image has wavered. A glitch is often that ripple, a momentary bend in the reflection. We notice it because we are used to smoothness. The mind gives us a continuous world, so continuity feels natural. When continuity slips, even briefly, it stands out. And because the slip is rare, we remember it long after ordinary moments have faded. This is the quiet center of the whole idea. Deja vu, missing time, repeated numbers, false memories, strange rooms, familiar strangers, and dreamlike moments near sleep may all be different ripples on the same surface. Each one shows the mind briefly meeting the work it usually hides from itself. There is a reason these stories are so easy to share. Almost everyone has had at least one moment that felt difficult to explain. The details differ, but the feeling is similar. The pause, the silence inside, the sense that the world has repeated, skipped, or whispered something just out of reach. When people share these stories, they are not always asking for proof. Often, they are asking for recognition. Has this happened to you too? Have you ever felt the present turn strange? Have you ever looked at an ordinary room and felt that it was not ordinary at all? The story becomes a small bridge between private experiences. This is one of the softer reasons we enjoy strange topics at night. They remind us that other minds are mysterious too. Each person carries a hidden world of memories, dreams, coincidences, and half-explained moments. From the outside, a life may look simple. From the inside, it is full of echoes. A calm glitch story does not need to end with certainty. In fact, certainty may not be the point. Some experiences are best held gently, not believed too strongly, not dismissed too quickly, just noticed. The mind can say, "That was strange," and then let the strangeness rest without turning it into fear. This is a useful way to approach many mysteries. We can be curious without being alarmed. We can look for explanations without flattening the feeling. We can respect the mind's oddness without assuming the worst. A strange moment can simply be a strange moment, passing through awareness like a cloud crossing the moon. If you are listening at night, you may notice how the room around you has become part of the experience. The sound of the voice, the low background music, the quiet screen, the darkness beyond the walls. The ordinary world is still here, but it may feel slower now, softer, less demanding. This is the kind of state where thoughts can loosen. You do not need to follow every idea. You do not need to remember every section. The video can become a stream of quiet images, a clock, a hallway, a familiar stranger, a missing key, a dream voice, a road at night, a word that disappears and returns. Each image points toward the same gentle truth. Experience is not as simple as it feels. The mind is constantly building, predicting, remembering, correcting, and smoothing. Reality may be steady, but our experience of it is alive. It breathes, it changes texture. It sometimes pauses long enough for us to notice. And when we notice, we may feel unsettled, but we may also feel wonder. The world does not have to be impossible to be mysterious. A memory can be mysterious. A familiar room can be mysterious. A coincidence can be mysterious. The fact that you are aware of anything at all is already one of the deepest mysteries we know. So tonight, the glitches do not need to frighten us. They can be small reminders that the mind is deep and that life is full of moments we only partly understand. A repeated pattern, a strange feeling, a memory out of place, a dream touching the edge of waking. Each one is a quiet doorway into the hidden work of being conscious. Some people describe a glitch as a moment that feels too perfectly arranged. They think of an old friend, then hear a song connected to that friend. They remember a place, then pass a street with the same name. They speak a sentence, and someone nearby says almost the same thing. None of it has to be impossible. The timing is what makes it glow. Timing is one of the great storytellers of the mind. The same event can feel ordinary or extraordinary, depending on when it arrives. A word heard at random may mean nothing, but the same word heard just after you were thinking about it becomes charged. The mind does not only ask what happened, it asks why it happened now. This is why almost predictions can feel so strange. You may have a vague thought, then something similar happens. Not exactly the same, but close enough to make you pause. The mind reaches backward and sharpens the thought. It may feel as if you knew, but often what you had was a loose possibility, and the real event gave it a clear shape afterward. The mind is very good at sharpening the past. After something happens, earlier thoughts can seem more specific than they were. A faint feeling becomes a warning. A passing image becomes a prediction. A loose memory becomes a clear sign. This does not mean we are making things up on purpose. It means memory is always influenced by what came after. Repeated encounters can carry the same feeling. You see the same stranger at a train station, then again in a different part of the city, then again near a shop. It may be simple overlap. People move through the same routes. Cities have rhythms. But the third time you see the same face, the world feels smaller than it should. There is a quiet beauty in that feeling, once it is no longer frightening. The world is not as separate as it looks. People share roads, schedules, seasons, habits, and small, invisible routines. Lives cross each other constantly, usually without notice. A repeated stranger may not be a sign, but it is still a reminder that everyone is moving through the same vast pattern. Sometimes the glitch is social. Someone says the exact thing you were about to say. Someone texts you just as you are opening their conversation. Someone brings up a memory that had been sitting quietly in your mind. These moments feel like two minds briefly touching the same hidden thread. Shared attention can explain some of this. People in the same place respond to the same cues. A change in weather, a sound outside, a recent event, or a common memory can guide two minds toward the same idea. The connection feels private, but the cue may have been shared. The world quietly suggested the same thought to more than one person. Still, the feeling can be lovely. For a moment, you are not alone inside your head. Another person arrives at the same thought from another path. It is not a break in reality. It is a small meeting of patterns. The mind notices because it spends so much of life feeling separate. And then suddenly, separation thins. Another kind of glitch appears when a moment feels like a loop. You have a conversation that reminds you of another conversation. You repeat a choice you thought you had moved past. You find yourself in the same emotional place again, with different people and different details. Life does not repeat exactly, but it sometimes rhymes. These loops can feel eerie because they reveal patterns in the self. We may think we are moving randomly, but we carry habits of attention, fear, hope, and desire. We enter new rooms with old expectations. We meet new people through old stories. When a pattern repeats, it can feel as if reality is glitching, when perhaps the self is showing us its rhythm. This does not have to be judged harshly. A repeated pattern is also information. It tells us what the mind returns to. It shows what still matters. It shows where attention has worn a path. In a quiet video like this, we do not need to fix the pattern. We can simply notice that life sometimes echoes itself. The word echo is useful here. A glitch often feels like an echo without a clear source. A scene echoes a dream. A stranger echoes someone you once knew. A day echoes another day. A hallway echoes a memory. The mind hears similarity, even when it cannot name the original sound. Not every echo needs an answer. Some echoes are only the mind recognizing shapes across time. The present touches the past. The past colors the present. A feeling returns in a new form. This is part of being conscious. We do not live in isolated moments. We live in layers, and sometimes those layers line up. So when people talk about glitches, they may be talking about more than strange events. They may be talking about the layered feeling of being alive, the sense that time is not always clean, the sense that memory is not always still, the sense that the world outside and the world inside are always quietly meeting. This is why the best glitch stories stay with us. They are not only puzzles, they reveal something about perception. They show us the mind at work. They show us how easily the familiar can become strange, and how quickly the strange can become meaningful. They make ordinary life feel deeper without needing it to become loud. As we move toward the end, let the explanations become softer. Deja vu can rest. Missing time can rest. Coincidences can rest. False memories can rest. The mind has done its exploring for now. It does not need to hold the whole map. It can set the map down and allow the room to be simple again. The clock can simply be a clock. The shadows can simply be shadows. The phone can be quiet. The road can be empty. The thoughts can pass without needing to become signs. Whatever strange moments the day contained, they do not have to be solved before sleep. They can remain gentle, unfinished, and far away. There is comfort in not knowing everything. The mind often wants a final answer, but rest does not require one. Rest only asks for a little space, a little permission to stop reaching, a little trust that the world can continue without our constant attention. The night can hold the unanswered things for a while. If your thoughts are still moving, let them move slowly. If a memory appears, let it appear softly. If a strange idea passes through, it can pass like a reflection on dark water. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to push it away. You can simply let it become part of the quiet. The most unsettling glitches are often not the loudest ones. They are the small moments that reveal how much the mind is doing in silence. They show us that ordinary life is not empty. It is layered. It is interpreted. It is remembered and re-remembered. It is full of tiny openings where wonder can enter. And now, the strange openings can close for the night. The world can become ordinary again, in the kindest way. The room is here. The body is here. The mind can stop searching for patterns. Whatever repeated, skipped, vanished, or returned can be left where it is. You can rest now, with nothing more to solve.